Hi. What a crazy way to start this. Happy New Year. It's 2026 and I've started reading for the new year. As everyone has their reading goals that they set. I'm out of breath from running up and down the stairs to film that. Mine is 50 books this year. I typically try and read 4 books a month. Oh my god. Okay, I'm alive. So, this is my review of what I've read thus far in January. I did get 4 books in this month, so that plus or minus 2 books is just because I'm not perfect. I like 50, good even number. Some years more, some years less, but typically that's my average. Let's get into it. I'm of a high energy today. I've had 2 coffees. So that would explain that. All right. Let's do these in the right order of which I read them. Wouldn't wanna. This is the first book I read, How to Be Eaten by Maria Adelman. I remember what I read. This is like a really interesting book. It's kind of this modern retelling of some fairy tales through like a group therapy session. So you have all of these characters that are based on like fairy tales, and they're kind of in this group therapy session with each other, trying to like overcome some level of trauma that's happened from their stories. Kind of a kitschy idea, like, you know, it's very like, I don't want to say Disney adult, that sounds mean, but like, I didn't love it, but I know that there are people who would like this. So there's different people's stories as they go through, like it's set up like each chapter is like you're getting into someone's backstory, which is really easy to read because you're just like, okay, I'm gonna read, you know, modern day Cinderella first, modern day Beauty and the Beast first, and like that's a pretty clear. I like having a goal in mind, like, oh, I'll just get to the end of her stuff and then, you know, I can read something else, or it's easy to pick up and put back down, which that's a good thing for this book. So I liked some stories and then I didn't like other stories. I don't want to spoil too much, but I want to say that there's some where I just thought the author was a lot more creative and the idea made a lot more sense, where it was kind of more of a true modern retelling where they didn't go like into any level of magic at all. And then there were some that were like, is this a metaphor or did this actually happen? Like, I don't know. There were some that didn't make as clear of a connection in my mind. And then there was one that I was just like, what fairy tale is this supposed to be? And I had to Google it afterwards. And then there was still some disagreement on like what fairy tale it was supposed to be. So I'm not gonna give it a great review. I read it. It didn't take me that long because it's a pretty good page turner. Like there's a lot happening and each chapter is very interesting because you're starting with someone's backstory and then like working your way to how they got to this therapy session, which that makes sense. I don't know. I think I gave it a generous 3 stars on Libby. I mean, Fable, not Libby. You know, speaking of Libby though, I bet this would be a good audiobook because I think if you had really good voice actors for these characters, they could really bring this story to life a lot better than like I could in my head. So that's my sort of negative beginning review. I think it's like 400-ish pages. Maybe it feels lighter than that. Let's see. Yeah, 300 and some change. Book one, and that took me like a week. Book 2. I loved this book. Also, these genres are all over the place. This was like fantasy fairy tale, like kind of dark. This is like true crime. If you notice in my reading, I don't stick to one genre, I like them all. So The Devil at His Elbow by Valerie, oh, I'm gonna butcher this, Bauerlein. If you know how to say that, there you go. This, if you don't know what this is, because some of y'all don't, this is about the Alex Murdaugh murder trials, which is a real thing that happened. And so this book is, I borrowed it from my uncle. So Uncle Ken, if you're watching, I will give this back to you next time I see you. This is about that case, and it's looking at a lot of sources, like the transcript from the court hearings, the testimonies from some of the victims of some of the malpractice and stuff that happened, and all sorts of stuff like surrounding it. So this is like a true story, and this is everything in here. Let me see if I can find it. Everything in here is like really cited. Like the back is just all citations of every page is filled with citations. So it's genuinely every claim in this book is founded in the index, if not in the, so this is index here, and then it's like all transcribed. You see what each chapter, where the details came from. And the author she sat in the courtroom the whole time for the whole trial and took notes and stuff. And so she did a great job collecting this all into one book. So good. So dark and so depressing and so beautifully written. Like just even The Devil at His Elbow, like what a powerful title for this book. If you don't know about the Murdaugh murder trials and the case, it's very interesting. It's about this kind of family that lived in rural South Carolina, and they ran this town because, you know, they were so powerful, and they were lawyers, and they were corrupt lawyers, and they did all sorts of illegal things, and then it finally culminated in Alex Murdaugh allegedly killing his, I think he was allegedly killing his wife and son. And then everything came out after that. And so this is kind of walking you through that case. And it has pictures. So the whole time I was like, because I had never seen them, because the actual case happened when I was younger. What was it, 2011? I don't know, I was a kid. They have pictures. So because at some point in the book, I was kind of like, what do these people look like? I was Googling them, but I didn't want to know too much, you know? And so they have pictures of the family and the judge, and they have pictures of the house and like the court, the testimony, and all sorts of stuff. They talk through the jury conversations, there's so many, and everything is, you know, cited, and it's just a really well done book. And if you like true crime and you haven't read this, get on it. My mother watched there was a show. I've not watched the show, but she said the show was really good, and it's very similar to this, so. Could not recommend this enough. I think I gave it 5 stars because it was just so well researched and so well written, and it was so interesting for just like a retelling of something that actually happened. It was just a good book, good recommendation from my uncle. He knows I like to read. Book number 3. The Mountain in the Sea by Ray Naylor. Now this is very popular on Book Talk, Bookstagram, BookTube, you see this one recommended quite a bit, and I think it won some sort of award. I think it did. It has a bunch of things on the back, so I think I gotten a lot of, look at that. Those are the octopus's eyes. Ooh. Or the symbols, depending on how I guess these symbols are important in the book, but it also, to me, always kind of looked like the eyes. You see the eyes? But it's kind of also these symbols. So this is like a futuristic robot AI, like nature forward conservation book about like a future world where there's a lot more robots and AIs and these droids and things like that. And they've kind of colonized most of the land. So it's a science fiction book, but it's talking about the importance of communication, and it gets into a lot of like marine science as well as linguistics, which is a crossover that I did not expect to happen. I am an environmental science gal myself, and I don't think about linguistics as much, but this is talking about communication with nature and communicating with these beautiful octopi. And it's about a scientist who lives on an island, and she's studying these endangered creatures, and she's studying them because they're endangered, and she wants to communicate with them, and she wants to understand kind of the culture that these very intelligent animals have. And the company that is also researching or is interested in her research is looking at the way their brain works for developing more intelligent creatures for their little tech stuff, and it's really interesting. And it does this really bookmark. It does this really interesting thing where at the top of each, at the top of each chapter, it has like a little paragraph from the book that the scientist you're following is writing, or it'll be the scientist who's working on the AI. So you kind of have this little back and forth, and there's multiple stories that you're following. So you're following the scientist, and you're following the developer, and you're following one of the robots. They do a great job. And it also has, as she's explaining like the communications, let me see if I can find a page. Oh, there was one. As she's explaining like the communications that she's seeing in the sand and the communications she's making, it has these little pictures of these symbols so that you can see like exactly what she's finding out about these creatures, and like you're kind of discovering it with her. And the suspense in this book was really good. It was a very slow beginning, and sometimes because of these intro paragraphs, it starts to like read like a textbook, and then I'm like, but there's so much action packed into the chapters that it just, I don't know. I really liked it, but it did take me a while to get into it. I will say this one took me the longest to read last month. I want to say I spent 2 weeks, because I kind of would read it and then I might get bored of it and put it down, and then I'd pick it up, and it does pick up, but it does take some effort to read it, because sometimes they're talking about things and I'm just like, I need to like think about this for a minute. It's a lot of like commentary and thinking, and you're thinking about like the bigger picture while you're reading about the smaller picture. Very good book. There's a reason it won all of those awards. I will say it's not something that I loved. Like, I want to say I gave it 4 stars. I didn't give it 5. I know that. Yeah, 4 stars. So it's just because it was so slow in the beginning for me. But once, you know, when you have a book, this is going to be a tangent. You know, when you have a book that's like going through like 3 different characters, and you're like, I'm more interested in this person's story than that person's story. So when you're reading that person's story, you're like, oh, this is so slow. I just want to know what's happening in the other person's story. I had a lot of that with this, where I was like, I'm more interested in her story, and I don't really want to know what's going on in this guy. And like, until that guy's story picked up steam, I was kind of like, what's going on here? But it's good. It's worth the read, I would say. I'm not gonna like read it again, but I have some people I will recommend this book to. Then my 4th book of January was an audiobook, because sometimes those are just good. And it snowed like crazy here, and so it's good to have an audiobook in when you're just nonstop shoveling the drive. So that's where this came from. And I listened to, this is another popular book that I always saw on scrolling, but I was like, that's not my kind of book. Like, this isn't the book that I would read. It's called The Wedding People. Ooh, I just dropped my phone. No. Oh my God, I clicked a million things. By Alison Espach, which really surprised me with how good it is. I literally gave it 5 stars. I don't care that it's not plausible, okay? I see the hate comments, I see the bad reviews. Let me enjoy a little romance novel, okay? Let me enjoy it, it's good. The Wedding People is about this professor Actually, I think it's based on a university near my house, which is kind of exciting because there's some things that they refer to that I'm like, oh, that's like around here, because she's from where I'm from. So there's this professor and her husband, and they're not really getting along. And this isn't a spoiler because it happens so early in the book, but they end up separating. And she goes to be sad in this place, and she's just surrounded by these, as she refers to them in the book, wedding people, and they're just so jovial and their lives are so perfect and her life is falling apart, you know, and it's just really good. I don't know, it was so fast-paced, it was so nice. Like, the characters were so well developed. There's a few characters, but all of them are so well developed. I loved it. It was a cute story, and like there's some emotional moments, and there's some moments that like got me like tearing up, and there was just like so many things. But it's just about, you know, your life is always happening, and when opportunity knocks, you need to answer the door. And it's just, I cannot recommend it enough. Honestly, I have been bugging my friends to read The Wedding People because I just want them to read it so I have someone to talk to about it. Totally selfish. I literally had my mom like request it on Libby from our library. So I was like, I'm done with this and you need to read this so we could talk about this. And then my friend Anna, I also just told her to read it. So, cause I literally, if you've read this book, please leave me something to talk about in the comments because bruh, it's so good. And like, I understand the comments that are like, this would never happen in real life. Go away, okay? That's not what I want in my comments. I know that. That's why I like it, because it's only a story like that would happen in a book, and it's sweet, and it's cute, and it's exciting, and I think it's a good romance book to read if you're going through a breakup, which I was somewhat recently, so this, perfect little breakup romance book. Can't recommend it enough. So those are the 4 books that I read in January. Hopefully I read for this February. Today's February 2nd, so I'm already getting a good start. I'm reading an Agatha Christie novel right now, and I will probably finish it tomorrow. Thanks for watching. If you have book recommendations for me based on my reviews of these books, I always need recommendations. For the new year, I deleted social media minus YouTube, clearly. So I'm not on Bookstagram. I don't know what's trending over there. So if you know what's good and you want to recommend me something, let me know. I could use the recommendations. My to be read list is getting kind of short right now, actually. I've been reading, so I need some more. I need to fuel the list. The longer the list, the more I feel like I want to read. So give me your favorite book recommendations. Tell me if you've read these. Tell me what you thought. If you're going to read them, let me know why. And yeah, I'll see you in a month. Bye.